What's going on, everybody? JT here. We've got David. We've got SeaWill. This is episode 49 of The Next Block. And today we have a very special guest. We have Tony Edward of Thinking Crypto. Thinking Crypto has been a fantastic crypto YouTube channel for the last 2 or 3 years. He's got, maybe like 100,000 plus subscribers already. So he's definitely the big times, at least compared to our channel. And, we're super excited to have him on as a guest. So without further ado, thanks for coming on the show. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me. Excited to talk about the crypto market.
Yeah, it's been we've definitely had some high-fiving going on, definitely within the community, outside of some of the bearish stuff that's still been kind of happening. But yeah, let's kind of get into some talk on what you guys are seeing right now. I mean, we got Bitcoin pumping, alts are somewhat pumping. Tony, what's your take?
Yeah, it's fascinating because the banks are collapsing. The Fed is printing more money behind the scenes to bail out these banks, and Bitcoin's pumping. So it's almost like the narrative or the genesis of why Bitcoin was created is playing out, and it's kind of serendipitous to see Bitcoin moving up, and the financial system is having its problems right now. I'm certainly bullish on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is doing its retracement similar to what it did in 2019. That is, we were such in a oversold standpoint. It was just so bearish, right? And then it would only direction to go was up. However, I don't think we're going to like $1 million or new all-time highs, like Balaji saying, right? Yeah. This is just like a bullish rally. And I think we're in that transition period from the bear to the bull. But the bull market officially starts, I believe, based on history, at the Bitcoin halving, which is going to take place next year.
Yeah. I definitely, from a lot of the people I've seen you retweeting, some people making charts, I've seen some of the other prominent people in the space, showing that we could see, kind of seeing a head and shoulders right now of Bitcoin, could see it right now. It's almost a 30K. I think right now we are at that pivotal, moment where it's going to make that decision. Is it going to move higher and possibly push into 30K? Or, is it going to fall back down, test that 25K area support before we kind of see where it's going to go? But yeah, I am definitely watching Bitcoin. It is leading the charge. And I think we could just sit around this area for a bit before I believe we will see that pop back up. Like I said, we're not hitting 1 million. I know Balaji put out the funny tweet. I even put out a funny tweet yesterday saying I'll go to $100 in 90 days. It's so funny because that tweet gets 10 times, 100 times the engagement as most of my tweets that are actually like trying to be, smart with the market and reasonable, but then I post something that's completely unreasonable and yet it gets all the activity. And I even heard someone was saying it that, who's to say, someone was like, why would this guy bet $1 million when he knows that's not going to happen? Well, what if he's longed it from 16K and he's already made well over 1 million? So even if he was to obviously lose that bet, he's still going to come out on the other end just from the attention. So definitely some FOMO kicking in. But like you said, I agree. I think we're going to see a pop up in this bear market, but don't get too bought out. Don't be longing and over leveraging yourself. Play it smart. Still, if you're a dollar cost averaging person, do that. But we could definitely see some more bearishness for the second half of this year leading into the Bitcoin halving, where I think we could see the actual bull market kick in.
Well, let's talk about these banks a little bit. So we got the central banks over there, and was it Japan, US, and a few others, right, are all kind of teaming up to provide liquidity to each other. Instead of their weekly transfers, they're doing daily now. Mm-hmm. What do y'all think about that? How does it relate to crypto?
JT,
that's a good question, honestly, because in a weird way, it kind of looks like they're turning the money printers back on. And, even though they say they're not doing that, if you look at the Fed's balance sheet, it's increasing. It has a nice substantial spike from the lows that it recently was at. I don't know too much. I can't really speak too much about other central banks around the world, but at least here in the United States, it really does seem like, the likelihood is we're going to get a 25 basis point hike in a day or two for the next one. But then I think we're going to pause. I think that's the end of it. And they're already turning the money printer back on as per the Fed balance sheet. So we could be seeing a true reversal. It's hard to say. I think it's a little too early because you don't want to jump in and get caught into a bear market rally. But I don't know, man. It does kind of seem like the writing is on the wall for a potential good reversal, or at least as David pointed out, maybe a run and then a collapse like we had in 2019, 2020 before pre-COVID.
Yeah, but even then, and Tony, I'll let you answer because I know you probably have something there as well. But when looking at the charts, you saw that, where Bitcoin got so oversold at the end of 2018 into 2019, and it had that rally. The only thing that slowed that down was the COVID crash. And then you could even say on the other end of it, would Bitcoin have even ran as high if the government was not sending out all this money to people directly through the stimulus packages? So all of that was kind of fabricated. And so it does make you wonder what is on the other side of this, right? We're not out of the woods. This bear market has taught us, right after we think, the biggest drop's coming with a lot of the things that crashed earlier, then you had FTX. And then now you have what we're in now with the banking system. It just keeps making you wonder what's on the horizon. So Tony, I'll let you answer what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy times because the Fed, we know they've been trying to fight inflation. They raise rates so fast and so rapidly that it started breaking things. And we're seeing the results of that, right? It's breaking regional banks. It's going to break possibly the larger banks. Central banks are scrambling right now. And similar to what JT said, I think they're going to have to reverse. It could happen this week or the next time around. I did a poll on Twitter, and most people think it's at 25 basis points that's going to happen. But I think the Fed has to tread lightly here, because one thing that's starting to erode is the confidence in the banking system. And while
Facts.
the Fed is trying to do all that stuff, look, the fact is fractional reserve banking is how the system is set up. And if the community, the public, doesn't have confidence and there's bank runs everywhere, the whole system could come down, right? So we're in a very serious situation. But I think they're going to step in. I think they're going to continue to print, because look, at the end of the day, if the banking system collapses, we're going to have riots. It's going to be the end of civilization, right? They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Just think about what would happen there. So I think a reversal is definitely coming. How they handle inflation is going to be tricky. I think they're going to have to say or frame it as, hey, look, we can't hit 2% inflation right now, but we're at 6, or we're going to be at 5. And we had to fix this banking crisis. So I think people will kind of give them a pass. If you think macro, media and so forth, right? Like, okay, yeah, the banks were about to collapse, so they had to print the money. They had to do that. But it's going to make inflation worse. So I don't know how they come out of the inflation situation. It's really a head scratcher. It's a very, tough situation the Fed is in. But look, they created the problem. But
Yes. Yeah, because the Fed with Jerome Powell, I'm like, what are you going to do next if your only tool is this interest rate hikes? But yet this printing is going to cause inflation. So it's a vicious cycle, basically, over and over and over.
And I would even say, but the average American has the memory of a goldfish, right? It's like we often forget. I mean, that's the reason why all these cycles continue to happen, right? I mean, give it a year into, right, the government kind of easing things, and people, will be back to thinking that, oh, we're in the clear, let the good times roll and things like that. And then, you start to think, well, what is coming out of this debacle, right? Because the last big debacle in the 2008 financial crisis, you could say, is what birthed Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
And we have a lot of the things that we're looking to as alternatives to the current banking system. I always am trying to think ulteriorly, like, what's going on behind the scenes. And I feel like a lot of people, even my own governor this morning, put out a tweet saying, we have to ban CBDCs, right? That could be the next big thing, that maybe the way we stop bank runs is we get rid of cash and we have everything digital, where there is nothing to come and withdraw, right? It's all just something that can be controlled. What are your all's thoughts there?
Well, let me say, like, we already kind of there, because now in the banks, they just type in a number on the computer that we just don't see. So we're essentially there. Once we give our money to the bank, they just digitize it and it's gone. Like, you ever watch that South Park episode? Put your money in there, and it's gone. Yeah. So that's why I feel like we're at. And then, like I said, they got I think it was China's doing a pilot test of CBDCs. There's countries slowly implementing it, so I can see it happening. They just waiting for the U.S. dollar to take it over. In my opinion.
And also, kind of to go with that, do you guys think the Fed Now program that's coming out is almost like a pilot, maybe, or like a testing?
The one in New York,
CBDC.
New York, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a test.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but I mean, part of me kind of believes that during COVID, when everyone had was running out of cash and you had to use exact change at restaurants and takeout and things like that. I part of me was just like, I don't know, man. There's something fishy about that. It just seemed like they were trying to get rid of hard money and pay with credit card only.
Mm-hmm. And you see
Yeah.
it now, even nowadays, more so.
Right.
Yeah, I think CBDCs are inevitable. And while you have folks like I've interviewed Congressman Tom Emmer quite often, and I've spoken to Chris Giancarlo of the Digital Dollar Project, it's coming. My concern is, and I've constantly brought it up with these folks, is the right to privacy and our constitutional right. Will it reflect that? And look, even Chris Giancarlo and these guys at the Digital Dollar Project, they're like, we don't know, but we're trying to get the Fed and these folks to not, make sure they honor those rights. But that's the scary part for me, right? And the social credit system. Some people may say, "Oh, that's a conspiracy. The government will never do that." Well, look at the Patriot Act. Look what the NSA. I mean, right?
Yep.
Absolute power corrupts. You give them that power. It may not happen now, but 10 years from now, right? Maybe my kid is going to experience that. So that's a world we live in. So we do have to fight and guard against these things. But at least we have alternatives like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to move value. We don't necessarily have to use CBDCs. I'm not saying that you can avoid it altogether, but at least you can, hey, I can send you some algo, right? And move value that way versus using a CBDC.
Yeah, and one thing I would be interested to hear your all's thoughts on is if say I know we immediately when we hear CBDCs we go to the worst case scenario of total 100% total government control, like a timer on the every dollar they send you or coin they send you, and you have to spend it. You can only spend it certain areas. But what with regulation, obviously that would have to come in this new digital economy future, especially with a lot of other cryptos. What cryptos and how many do you actually think will survive and be, actual assets that people can use that aren't regulated to the ground by, the current, people in power?
Yeah, that's the big bet, right? It's kind of like 1996. Where's the Amazon? Where's the Google? Where's the eBay? So I'm personally diversified. I'm looking for projects that have real world partnerships. They're looking to build utility. So once you get out of the speculation bubbles, they have lasting potential because they're working with real companies in the world, right? Not just hey, we're doing this DeFi thing between these three crypto companies. No, I need to see Starbucks. I need to see Google. I need some of these companies adopt this technology. So I certainly believe Algorand is one of those, and I'm bullish on the long term outlook of Algo. I'm also looking at Chainlink, HBAR. I still think Bitcoin's going to be around as digital gold. I think ETH, Polygon Matic, and just some names thrown out there that will be around.
We see the pillows behind you. What about Dogecoin?
that's just for decoration. I'm not like Elon, where it's it's gonna be the currency of Mars. It's so interesting because you have this very, very unique dynamic that's taking place, because for the first time in history, and this is happening with stocks as well, people are able to crowdsource just like that because of the internet. And they can move markets. They can move something like a Dogecoin, which is, look, it's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But they can move it and you can make money off of it, but it's of course super risky. But I can't deny how the world has changed and the decentralized nature, that the four of us can agree to go with $20,000 people to go back this coin, and it can move the market.
Yeah. Something else I feel like, another topic we can kind of hit on and get your look on is, the recent depeg of the USDC. Obviously, with the rise of Bitcoin and the bank, or with its rise and the banking's kind of collapsing, we also saw that, there's still stable coins that are dependent upon the banking system. And I would even say to an extent, Bitcoin in a way is dependent upon banking. There has to be a way to on-ramp your fiat to buy Bitcoin. So you have to have a bank account first, unless you have, I guess, the ATMs. But even then, I feel like there's got to be some connection. What is your thought right now on, the stablecoin issue and what we're seeing kind of play out there?
The funny thing is, with all the FUD around Tether for years upon years, it's funny that USDC just got depegged with this banking situation.
Yeah.
And look, that's part of the, some of these folks in DC, like your Elizabeth Warrens and short sellers working together to short some of these crypto banks and Operation Choke Point as well. But then they started a domino effect where it started exposing the issues and that these banks were facing outside of just crypto and then the larger financial markets. But I think USDC is going to be fine. I don't know if you want to call it a conspiracy theory, but I think the USDC could become like the digital dollar.
Oh, yes. That's my whole theory behind it. Once BlackRock got there, I'm like, there's no way. Because this is the thing where we talk about stable coins, even a dollar's not stable. So it's a unstable asset on an unstable asset, right? But as you said, I can see it being the dollar that we use digitized. And it's pretty much that simple. Looking at all these world banks getting together, using the ISO 22s, just run USDC on the rails. We'll use it the same way like we do with our debit card, I think.
I know it's kind of funny. JT had a tweet. I don't know if you came up with the tweet, but it was the picture of, it showed USDC on the left side and it showed all the plates like leaning against the glass. Like if you were to open it, like obviously it's going to crash.
I think it was JT,
but then on the right side, it was USDT and the cabinet's closed. Like it didn't have the glass pane. So you have no idea what's really going on behind the scenes with USDT and if they're sweating, but you obviously saw the cracks, the proposed cracks in the USDC. But I do agree with you, SeaWill. I think there's too many big players backing USDC for it to fail. And I feel like, it's kind of the thing I feel like you're kind of seeing play out is, the US and a lot of big money, they're going to get behind one thing and try to squash out the rest. Right. And I feel like we've seen that with many things trying to take down Binance, which has ultimately led to the others, collapsing and not. A lot of US based things have fallen when a lot of things built outside the US have actually stayed pretty strong and weathered this bear market.
Well, think about the dollar. I see what happens if the dollar crashes or DXY, right?
This is an interesting question because I mean, I'll start it off and then Tony can take it from there, because in my opinion, the dollar has crashed a while ago. Honestly, it's
71.
Right. Let's pull up a chart real quick just to make it a little bit more eye appealing.
It's like every year Warren Buffett's alive, the dollar goes down 1%. We almost at 100.
Let's see. We'll just put this on 1 week and move this down a little bit. But yeah, the dollar is, already down. Let's see. I mean, right now it's down almost 10% from its highs, which is a pretty substantial move for a currency. It's not like crypto where like 10% can move on a day. Like this is a pretty substantial down move. And I think, we're retesting this prior support and it looks like it's being treated as resistance. And I think we've got further down to go. I think we're going to enter into this green area over time, maybe over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Who really knows about the time on that one? But I think it's already well underway, Damien.
And that, and also if you bring up the Bitcoin chart and you look at the, where Bitcoin is kind of testing as support or should be, obviously it just flipped back above the 200 weekly moving average. And if it can close that, if it can close that and keep maybe that 25, 27K area as support, then, a lot of the things we've been talking about during this episode of a bull market, maybe in the longer bear, right, until the halving of Bitcoin is definitely seems plausible to play out.
Yeah, and just a rule of thumb, DXY is crashing, assets go up. DXY is pumping, assets go down.
Yeah.
So it's looking bullish, man, on both charts.
Yeah. And it even, I saw some people, still talking about the Bitcoin to $1 million. We don't want, as many people would be like who are holding Bitcoin would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But in my mind, it just goes to the fact of if Bitcoin is pumping that high, something massive is wrong. Like, it would be horrible for people obviously not in Bitcoin. And there are way more people not in Bitcoin than in Bitcoin. So I definitely think a steady, just growth over time, over the next 10, 15, 20 years of people adopting Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, whatever it may be, whether it's Ripple, Ethereum, Algorand, whatever they are, there's going to be a new landscape in finance and in banking. DeFi is going to play a huge part in that. And so, I think it's silly to think that, this, ascension of crypto needs to happen all at once. Like, I think it does need to happen slower so that we can get things right and not rush into it.
You mentioned earlier Balaji, and he's probably got some longs and some nice
Oh,
bets.
yeah.
So it's a great marketing campaign.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's a smart guy. He has a lot of credibility, being at Andreessen Horowitz and Coinbase and so forth. But the only way I could see that happening is if tomorrow all the central banks said, "Hey, we're putting Bitcoin in our balance sheets." That's the only way I could see
Yes.
it.
Right.
Yeah, we need that sovereign wealth fund, central bank money to pump it to that.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what market cap would that make Bitcoin?
I mean,
like
4 trillion, 5 trillion? Like, it would have to be bigger
closer
than
to, like,
Apple.
I think maybe more. I think it'd be
Microsoft.
like 13 to like
yeah,
18
till
trillion.
10.
Yes, but that means
It's
it would
past actual
be
gold.
number one asset on earth, basically. And I don't see that happening in 3 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all depends on how you calculate the circulating supply, but it's in the tens of trillions.
Yes.
But I will say
crazy.
this, it goes back, just being on Twitter, it goes back to when I first kind of started paying attention more to crypto, and with, the COVID run, and when everything kind of ran, FOMO, and like the what crypto can be. We've been in it for a longer time. Obviously, Tony, you've been in it probably the longest out of us. We see the potential, and during the bull market, we were all high-fiving on what's coming, and DeFi is going to destroy centralized finance and all this stuff. But it just goes to show that once a bull market does come back, how fast it can move, and it will move. And that's the thing. It's like, you got to find those projects, the Amazons, the Best Buys, the Googles now, that are actually building real world utility, which actually, I also want to get your thoughts on this. I've been seeing because of this kind of hype and FOMO, tons of YouTubers and spammers, I would say, are out there touting the ISO 222,
Gotta
whatever
talk
it is.
about it.
Yeah, and we've actually even had a guy in the Algorand system kind of debunk that. He made a video, Frugal BC kind of posted one out there, even with some help from people within the Algorand.
To be fair, my channel debunked that first, and then he took that. Then he took that information.
That is true. But a lot of people think this plays an important part in which cryptos are going to make it. Some think this is just hogwash. What are your thoughts on the whole ISO thing?
Tony, before you go, let me just throw a quick theory out there.
Sure.
My theory is this, and I said this is why I liked Algorand from the beginning. There's government chains and there's public chains. I feel like the government with the ISOs, they're using the best tech, but we're going to use the public version of it. So if they so-called choose the Ripple net, we're not going to be using that. That's just me.
No, that's a great point, because an example with XRP, the XRP ledger, they build these federated sidechains which are private, so you wouldn't know what a central bank or some financial institution is doing on it. But to your point, there's a public version of it. I think both parties are right that look, this is important. It is positive for the assets that are compliant, but it's not going to have the price impact people think. I think they want it to happen. They want to manifest it, like the price must go up, and this is a catalyst. But no, this is kind of just pipelines being laid, and the volume or the utility may come years later, because all this stuff is still being mapped out. I don't think it's fully there. It's kind of crawl run, but yeah, yes, you can look at the list and say, hey, these cryptos like Algo and so forth are compliant. Great. I think that's another item on a checklist to say to your investment thesis. Is it going to pump the price tomorrow because it's happening today? I don't think so.
I think.
Well, then when you look at it, I think about like the origins of the internet. It was military, right? And so then we have the public version. We don't use the military version still right now. So that's still where a lot of this, I see it. But I think in the long term, it should definitely pump the price just by the smoothness of the ISO 22 tokens. They move a lot smoother than, let's say, like an Ethereum or something.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of like the can that's just being kicked down the road, right? This sunset is supposed to happen, and it's been supposed to happen for the past couple of years on this on banks and everything switching over to the new updated standard. Kind of like, as someone in the comments was saying, any resolution the XRP lawsuit this week, it's kind of the same thing. It's this cloud that kind of is in the sphere, it's in the space, but there's no perfect resolution on what's going to come of it. So we don't know, but like you said, it's kind of, you can speculate it might help move the price, but it's not going to pump it.
Yeah, and on that Ripple lawsuit situation, this is the crypto market needs Ripple to win.
Yeah.
All coin projects, because Gary Gensler and these guys are going after everything. Everything's on the table. I mean, the fact that they are now putting Ethereum in that situation, Gary refuses to say Ethereum is not a security, following his predecessors, Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman. That should be an alarm bell, and every coin that's an ERC20 token needs to worry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we need Ripple to win. I think we also need Congress to act and pass clear regulation. But a Ripple win would be huge for the altcoin market.
Absolutely.
And a Ripple loss would, I would say,
Also be
could
huge.
the thing on the other. I mean, you just got to look at the facts that we have, right? We have this bull market. What is something that could cause a ripple effect to really, cause a lot of fear in the
Ripple effect.
market? Is Ripple Ripple losing this lawsuit, and then just the hammer really coming down on regulation, because what's coming. And so that's definitely something that I'm watching. It's why I'm not getting too sucked into the hype. I've definitely got some positions that I'm in and hoping to take some profit here in the coming weeks or months, however long this plays out. But definitely, and Tony, I know you have to go here soon, and so I know a lot of our audience is maybe new to you. So definitely, guys, if you are watching this, be sure to subscribe to Tony's YouTube channel, Thinking Crypto. He also has a podcast. It's available, I'm pretty sure, on almost every place you can stream a podcast. So if you don't have time to watch the videos, you can listen to it on the way to work. So very appreciative. But give our audience, what are you excited about in the crypto space? Doesn't have to necessarily be that you're buying the tokens and holding them, but what things in the space do you think are actually building towards real world utility?
Good question.
Sure. I'm excited about companies this year, despite all the noise and all the SEC scares, rolling out Web3 tech, whether it be NFTs or tokenization, because that's going to help frame the narrative, I think, for regulations that, hey, look at what Starbucks is doing, or look at what Amazon is doing, right? There's rumors that Amazon's going to launch
NFTs.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think the names of these blockchains, whether it be Polygon, XRP Ledger, Algorand, right, are mentioned, once again, it just helps build the credibility. It changes the perception and narrative, because a lot of people still see, oh, these coins, they're very volatile and they go up. Oh, it's a scam. Oh, yeah, I lost a ton of money. But they're not seeing, hey, this is the new or next layer on top of the internet. Like you were used to going to websites and so forth. This is the next layer, and it's very new. It's a drastic change, similar to what it was in the 90s for a lot of people. What's the internet? What's an email address? Right.
Right.
But it'll come. The knowledge is going to come. And look, and the CBDC part, the government's going to educate a lot of these people. Here's what a CBDC is. It runs on a blockchain. It's tokenized. All these things will come in time, but I'm excited to see big companies roll out and the market to pump despite all these issues. And like you said, don't forget to take profits, because we might be in for some more pain later this year. So if you're in the green, take some money off the table, so at least you have that.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say too is I feel like over time, as time progresses, I feel like people are less afraid of these volatile assets as they start to pay attention to the stock market more and start to see something like Netflix can go down exponentially after a bad earnings call, or Facebook, or all
70% one day,
or all these bank stocks that are down, 70, 80, 90% from their highs. So it's no longer just the crypto market that's this volatile. So pretty soon, I don't know if that'll be what keeps people away. So I think I am very, very, very excited for the future of the crypto market, to be honest.
All right, Tony, before you go, then top 5 cryptos.
Yeah,
right
I was
now
about to say the same
thing. He gave us a good I would say politician response to my question, but he didn't dive into the meat. So I'm gonna come right at you. Top 5 cryptos that you're watching.
Yeah, well, straight up, full transparency, no BS. What I'm accumulating and buying the dips for, top 5: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Algo, HBAR, and Chainlink.
Nice.
Hey, that's a nice bag right there.
Yeah, I might probably do 6 there, but
Yeah, hey, one for the extra win. And if people in the audience don't know, Tony is actually, he likes Algo. He's had, Sean Ford from the Algorand Inc. on his channel before, and various others. So definitely love what you're doing in the space. And thanks for taking the time to come out on our show. And obviously, we will have to have you on the show in a future slot so we can discuss the markets more.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Take care.
Take care, Tony.
Bye.
But yeah, so that was a great discussion there. Obviously, from the general sense of it, reasons to be bullish right now in the market. I definitely am not as USDC heavy as I was a couple weeks ago. I've definitely started.
So you've been buying.
I have been buying. I'll go. I'll divulge. He gave me what he was excited about. I'll divulge a little of what I've been buying. I've actually been buying. I did buy back some Algo. I will say, anytime I talk to John Woods, it's really hard to not buy Algo. So yeah, talking to John Woods, made me buy some Algo. also have been, dollar cost averaging into some Filecoin. They just launched their FVM, which is their Filecoin virtual machine. Similar to so they're trying to do their
I'll have to
own
look
thing
that
and
one
have
up.
and have new
That's
people
a jewel
build.
right there.
Yeah, and so I like the idea of decentralized storage. I think that's something that could take off. And also been buying into some Dot and Glimmer, which is both of those are in the Polkadot, ecosystem. And so those are kind of the big ones. I did throw like $100 at Stacks. That thing just seems like
I've researched that. Stack looked good, and I researched it because of your tweet.
yeah. Well, I just feel like it's one of those things. It's attached to Bitcoin.
It's a smart play.
Yeah,
honestly.
Bitcoin is pumping, and if Bitcoin pumps, say another 30%, Stacks. I mean, it already did it already went from like 20 cents to like $1. Like it's doing what everyone wishes Algorand would have done.
Ordinals and all that is dropping on Stacks.
Yeah, and so there's definitely a lot of things that could pump, and it's kind of interesting. When I first got into the space and was researching Algorand and market cap was 42. And it ran all the way when I first started buying. And I will say this, that's when Algorand was at 80 cents. So I have no idea how low it was when it was at the, 20 cent or 10 cents. I have no idea. But when it was 80 cents is when I started buying right before that run. And it ran all the way from 42 up to 12. And guys, anybody watching, that's when Algorand literally had nothing. Yieldly was
now
not
the competition is way stronger. We'll say that.
It is in a sense,
but, and all these other things pop.
But Algorand is still, and as a lot of the people watching, Algorand is still technically superior to most of them. Yes, I know.
Oh yeah, it's still my number one. I use it for everything in terms of like, if I'm gonna educate someone, you got to start for me with Algorand.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have
and
to.
So,
other
but
stuff
it ran.
Don't make sense.
Yeah, but it ran all the way from 42. I think the highest it ran in market cap was number 12. And so for this next run, even during this little bear market run that we're seeing right now, I'm not saying Algorand's going to get to top 10. I know that's John Woods. That's his goal. He thinks it belongs in the top 10. I know it belongs in the top 10. I mean, heck, Doge is in the top 10. It definitely belongs.
Now, if you take
there.
out the stable coins like Polkadot, it's like a whole bunch of things in the top 10 that Algorand's better.
Exactly.
Speaking of top 10, I actually do want to show something that'll kind of conceptualize the potential bullishness and the bullish move that we could eventually see in the future. I think it's a really interesting way to look at things. So
let's look
give me 1 second. I got to pull up Trading View. So,
but Dave, I see you FOMO into BTC though.
I bought I bought
Bitcoin Maxi.
I bought $500 worth of Bitcoin. I'm not
Bitcoin Maxi.
I honestly, I almost
hey, listen,
sold it.
In the chat,
I almost sold it for like $520. Like, hey, I made $20. I should sell it.
Hey, in the chat, let me know what y'all looking to buy other than Algorand. Write some of those down so we could do a little bit more research. If it's Bitcoin, put BTC, put some of those ticker symbols in there. Appreciate y'all.
I tried to figure out people's top 10 chains the other day, and everyone just responded Algorand 10 times. But
it's really hard for us to do anything that's not going to be very heavy Algorand favored.
Yes. So you see this after the 2017 bull run that popped at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. It came down and it landed around here.
Just a weekly chart? Where we at? Oh, monthly.
This is monthly. It doesn't really matter too much, but the reversal happened around March of 2019. So that was that last red candle, and then we had this leg up. So if you go to March of 2019 on the way back machine, and you go to
this is the website I need.
Yeah, I like
something like this.
So this is this is what coin market cap looked like on March of 2019.
Oh wow.
And if you can look right here, you've got Tether. You've got Tether right here with $8 billion worth of market cap. And then if you scroll down somewhere around here, you find USDC with 31 million. So basically nothing.
Damn.
So all in all, there's $8 billion worth of stable coin in this market right before this leg up. Now we're right over here. And we look at this. We've got $76 billion right here and $36 billion right here. That's that's like $105 billion versus $8 billion.
So what's that like? Almost 10%, 20% of the market stable coin.
Well, that also means there's literally like $100 billion of more cash ready to enter the market. Before this green candle, there was $8 billion worth of stable coins, and that entered the market into cryptocurrencies and created this pump.
What about
here? There's $100 billion worth of stable coins.
Oh, we ready to pump.
And imagine the pump that could come if all of those started unloading into assets. It'd be really interesting.
JT, what is the date? How much Tether was there at the top of that little pump that we saw back in 2019? Like right there. So they
June 2019. Let's find
I'm just
out.
curious to see, if if Tether grew as well, or if you actually saw it kind of decrease, and just that was it limited money within the ecosystem flowing into other assets, or was it an
more
influx of new money?
The Wayback Machine takes so long to load. Just give me 1 second.
That's a nice
guys.
device.
Yeah,
Let me
no
read
problem.
some of these out. HBAR, Near, ADA, Filecoin, Quant. Okay, I see y'all.
I do hold some Quant. I have held it a little bit. I feel like it's the same thing as Algorand. They're all needing that partnership. They're all needing partnerships to actually use the tech that's there. Because Quant has great tech, Algo has great tech.
I hear Quant's not even a crypto. That's what people.
Here we go.
It's not. It's more, meant to help a lot of things, talk to each other. But there still has to be things that actually want to use it. Businesses that actually want to jump in, no matter what network they're using.
All right, I've got the answer for you. So right
All
here, there was about $8 to $9 billion worth of USDT. Here, there's about 20 billion. So that about doubled.
More cash.
Here, we have over 100 billion. That's 5 times more stablecoin that's in the crypto market than right here.
Okay, let me add this in too. Quantitative easing started right in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, right after the COVID crash.
That's when
basically right here.
everyone's free money, right?
Yep.
So we have to consider that.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. But honestly, I wonder how much of that free money is now just sitting in those stable coins, waiting to enter that market again. You know what I mean? The stable coins.
Hey, I still got my $1,000 check. No.
But when you look at it like that, it's really, really interesting because we're coming up on a similar pattern where we've just crossed the 200-week moving average, and there's literally, depending on how you want to measure it, 5 to 10 times more stable coins in the market than there were the last time we had a major cyclical leg up. So if that doesn't make you a little bit more bullish, then I don't really know what will.
Let's respond to Everyday Algonaut. Shout out to Everyday Algonaut, always active. I really appreciate it. He says you should focus more on the Algorand ecosystem. Just go to Vestige. I mean, honestly,
I agree and disagree with this. I was going to
say the same thing, because why? It's like crypto is bigger than just Algorand, in my opinion. But if you look at my channel, almost 90% of my interviews are from those projects you're talking about, and it's all Algorand.
Right. We do pretty much primarily focus
all my
on
tutorials
Algorand,
down there are about Algorand. So,
but I will say this: how many actual projects
can't invest in those ASAs?
Yeah, investing is actually worth it, because we've seen. I'll say this: we've seen how easy, right? A spook, my algo messes up, and what happens to Webland? Well, what happens to Webland, right? Because Borderless Capital owns a massive amount of liquidity. I don't trust, there's not none of
Cosmic Champs they got a new coin out. How do you do that?
The only project, honestly, in the ASAs that I've actually put a sizable amount, for me, is DeFi. I actually think the team behind DeFi is committed to Algorand, and I use the application. I don't use Opulus, right?
No, you don't. I don't.
Nothing I do with that. To me, that's still a speculative investment, and you're betting on Lee Parsons. And I will say, Lee Parsons.
I wouldn't bet on Lee Parsons either.
That's to each their own. He's definitely driven, but to each their own. But I would say the only ASA I see is DeFi is the one that I actually like. Now, something I was going to say, Wolf of Wall Street, Scott Melkner, he has a YouTube channel, very popular in the space, said the bear market is officially over. Bitcoin made its first higher high, 25,212, since the all-time high. That confirms a new bullish trend. Price can still go down, but that would be a new trend, not a continuation of the previous bear market. Congrats, everyone. So with that said, I do believe we have, this is a new trend. We are going to see a run up. We just don't know where this top is going to be. But I will say this, when everyone starts screenshotting and taking pictures of prices and posting them, that is a good time to sell, or at least start easing out.
Well, what's the feed and greed and index?
It's honestly been hovering at neutral 60, for the last 50. For a little while. But I do want to say, because I do think that we are looking really good for another leg up or a bull market, I do want to just add some caution to the wind a little bit, because although I agree with the person you just quoted to some degree, we have been making a higher high. When you look at Bitcoin on the monthly chart, or even if we do 2 weeks or something, let's do the 2-week chart, you can see right here, we
got over it.
Yeah, we've broken the 200-week moving average, but it's just a wick. I want to see a weekly candle close above it. I want to see a monthly candle begin above it, because right now it looks like we're over it, but it could very well come back down, and then we could zoom out months later, and this will just be a little wick above it, and that got everybody excited and really fooled everybody. So
What about the daily chart?
personally, I mean, the 200-week moving average is a bull market support band. Even though we are above it, I want to see more strength above it. I want to see multiple weekly candles closing above it. I don't want to just see wicks above it. On the daily, well, that's what I mean. When you zoom into smaller time frames, it can kind of trick you, and you can start to get bullish because
Right.
look right here. We've got three candles above it. But if you zoom out even just to the weekly, I mean, we have half a candle body above it, but if this weekly candle doesn't close above it, that'll come back down. That'll just be a wick in the long run. So I personally just want to see more closes on the weekly above this 200 week before, we start saying bull market's back and everyone starts getting super excited.
Everyday Algonaut was saying that DeFi is not open source, does not have multi-sig support. A wallet has full multi-sig support. Rekeying wallet connecting is open source. What is a wallet? I saw that. Are they just saying Algorand wallet for like
I
Para?
never heard of a wallet.
I know
Or
this.
is there
I
an
know this
actual
answer.
another wallet?
Is that the Daffy wallet? Is that what it is? I don't
No,
remember.
Daffy's Daffy.
Okay.
Shout out to Daffy though.
Then honestly, I don't know. I don't know the answer. I know DeFi is coming out with multi-sig soon. But
Well, Algo
yeah,
Foundry
regardless.
just dropped a multi-sig, and I know every
True.
day Algonaut, you had questions. I can't answer those questions, but we can maybe get Algo Foundry on here one of these days.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Everyday Algonaut in the Recoup, and he was saying that the Algo Foundry is like a smart contract multi-sig, so it's a little different.
It is a little
Pretty
different.
dope,
Yeah,
honestly, but
it's
you need
more-
a wallet already to use it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
it's
it was pretty
not the
dope.
same in the same sense, but it definitely. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff building in Algorand to give more functionality, and obviously, we're going to need that now that one of the biggest wallet providers, went down.
Yeah, I mean, overall, Algorand will get over that. To be honest, I mean, there's so many more wallets that are out there already. There's the Para wallet, there's the DeFi wallet, there's the Daffy
Exodus.
wallet. Apparently, there's the A wallet, there's the Exodus. What else do we have? There's even more that like Atomic Wallet supports Algorand. It doesn't support the ecosystem
Coinbase
yet.
wallet.
It doesn't have integrations with DeFi yet, but there's a lot of wallets where you can hold Algorand and ASAs, and I'd
Ledger.
imagine more and more Wallet Connect features will pop up as time goes on.
So JT,
And
obviously,
MetaMask is coming too. That's still
Right.
that's still in
gonna
the
be
works.
the best move, I think.
we still got a little bit of time, and he says it's one of the oldest wallets in the Algorand ecosystem. It was
No one
open source
uses
even
it
before
then.
Para. Obviously, it might be something that's not as user. I don't know what the user interface
Some
is.
about
Maybe
Algo Signer, maybe.
No. I don't think it's Algo Signer. I think he's just talking about something that's more bare bones. But you drop a link, Everyday Algonaut, or drop some information on how we can find it. We'll definitely take a look at it. JT, I'm interested to see. I know you are very cautious, right, on chasing, I guess you could say right now, maybe the hype of the market, the FOMO that we're kind of seeing. What are your plays right now? Obviously I'm not saying you got to divulge all your hidden juicy secrets. I know you made a really good play on the USDC, USDT kind of loop when that depegged.
He's like,
Have
yep.
you since then started to, ease back into some of these risk on assets, or are you still waiting for full confirmation before you start to move any capital around?
Mostly, honestly, I'm still waiting. I did buy a little bit of Algorand back with a little bit of the profits I made from my USDC trade because I increased my cash position by about 10 to 15% with that. So
Yeah.
I couldn't complain, and I did use a little bit of that to buy Algo. So right now all I hold is Algo and USDC, but I will say I've actually been creating a trading plan. So my goal is actually to trade Algo and Opulus for ASAs because I found Opulus to actually be one of the easier coins to chart, and it's primarily because it's one of the few coins that's on centralized exchanges, so I can chart it on TradingView. It has deeper liquidity and things like that. So I'm actually, for the next 6 to 12 months, my goal is actually to really refine my trading strategy and be more of a trader than an investor. Of course, I'm going to have my long-term bags; those are just going to sit, but I do want to focus more on trading this year.
Hey, I'm with you on that one.
And what are your, I know you texted us privately. I think it was like a day trading book. Are you looking to do more day trading, or are you looking at swing trading, or, what's your thoughts there?
I'm always going to probably be more of a swing trader because I feel like day trading, you can get caught up in noisy signals that don't actually like really mean anything. But I am reading. I mean, I sent you guys that picture of a quote unquote day trading book, and I am reading it just so I can familiarize myself more with better chart patterns, indicators, and things of the sort. But I'm likely not going to be like day trading. Most of the trades I'll take will probably be anywhere from 3 days to like a couple weeks, maybe even like a month or two, depending on the setup and whatnot. So Of course, if there's an opportunity and I see something like that USDC thing, which I only had open for like 48 hours, if there's an opportunity, of course, I'm going to jump into a smaller trade, but most of them will be a little bit longer, probably week plus trades.
And it seems like, just to kind of gauge your all's interest, governance are you guys going to be participating in governance going forward, or is that just like has the foundation kind of not even showed their hand, but what are your all's thoughts with the upcoming governance? Because I would say even that, if I were to buy back my algo right now, I would have actually made more algo just through swing trading during this period than I would have just letting my algo sit in governance. What's your all's thoughts there?
Well, I'll start. No, probably not, because as what you said, now they're being most positive, but as you said, I like to be clear. I came to make money. I do love the community and everything, and I love all the connections that we make and all the opportunities, but I'm trying to make some money, and I see there's more money to be made outside of governance than in governance. And with that last hack, I had to move a lot of stuff around, so I had to break governance to make sure that I was secure. So I'm not in governance this round. And I also feel like governance is slow. And I've seen other ecosystems actually make action daily, weekly, monthly in governance. I don't know what's happening, honestly. In XGovs, we got Headline, we got Algorand's XGov. There's no communication. I'm really confused, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, once the XGov, the foundation's version, not whatever the heck Headline's doing, but once the XGov process is underway, I might be a little bit more interested in it, because I feel like that might give governance the flexibility that we've been kind of looking for, because it really has just been very slow. It's 3 months at a time. Really nothing changes, honestly. It's been like six
Nothing
periods, and
changed.
really nothing is there's really nothing like substantially
thing.
different after all of these votes. I mean, there's been a little bit more funding to DeFi, but there's a chance even without governance, they probably would have put that money towards DeFi anyway. So ultimately, I don't think it's done anything so far, at least to like long-term beneficial, but I do have hopes for the XGov situation. If that happens, I might jump back in, but as of right now, I'm not in governance.
Yeah, I would even say it's kind of interesting, because obviously I'm in the Moonbeam ecosystem, which is on Polkadot Glimmer, and every time I log into my wallet, log into the platform to maybe claim rewards, they have a new thing to vote on. And the governance is just always ongoing. It's almost like you could say with AlgoFi and how they kind of handle their governance, you can always vote on stuff. I definitely think Algorand needs to get to a better decentralized model, especially if they want to make people feel like it's more decentralized. Because I also think this, at the end of the day, how many people who hold algo are actually going to be proposing, new things to vote on? Most people are not, right? But it's just the idea in people's minds that they would rather have community input than just thinking, oh, all these things that we're voting on are just coming from Stacy, and they may not even be coming from Stacy, but that narrative can get spun.
Yeah. And the tough part too was the whole vote, and then they said we voted something down, then they immediately put the same thing back up, reword it, and then it goes, how much money we're gonna give to the top NFT projects, this amount or that amount. That was basically what happened.
Yeah, you didn't even have a choice. It was just
it's let's just give them the most money we can, and then we know what NFT project. I'm not gonna name any of them, but there's not gonna be a fair distribution. It's gonna go straight to the top, like most things. So whoever had $1 million is gonna go get $1 million.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, the last governance vote that I participated in, it really did just feel like theater. I mean, it was exactly as you said.
I did drama too in theater, man.
Right. It was just like pretend. Really, it was like you have a pretend choice between Coke and Diet Coke, and
same company, right?
I didn't want any soda, but we didn't have that option.
Yeah. So how do y'all feel about it? Leave a little bit more comments than y'all doing. What's up with the XGovs? Please tell us.
Yeah. And Don, I brought it up a couple seconds ago, but Don has a good point too over here that, there's money to be made buying that G algo dip. And I agree there. 'Cause a lot of the times when I do go to buy Algorand, I check to see if G algo is cheaper, and I buy G algo because you get more bang for your buck. If you're already buying algo anyway, if you're throwing $100 at algo and G algo's off by like 2%, you're going to get more G algo. And if you can wait 2-3 months, depending on when, how long into the governance period it is, you can just unwrap that at the end and get your full algo's worth. So
didn't they hire somebody for governance specifically? Where's that person?
I don't know.
It was not Joanna. It was somebody from Australia. Can't remember the
name. One thing while you're thinking of that, I want to bring up, how do you guys think the next
talking about Adriana Bellotti?
Yeah. What's up with that?
I'm not sure what she's doing. I do
She's
know
the
she's great.
governance
I
go-to.
really like Adriana. I just don't know
Oh,
what
she's nice,
been
but
up to.
yeah.
Um,
Go ahead,
Um,
David.
No, I was just saying, how do you guys think the shakeup in Algorand DeFi is going to play out with all this MyAlgo hack stuff? Because there was a lot, AlgoFi was freezing the ability to, supply USDC with that depegging, and there was, an emergency vote in their DAO to actually come to that conclusion. But then you kind of had folks doing, something. You had Guard obviously very caught up in the middle of the whole MyAlgo hack with, some of their funds being stolen, and Riley from Guard was very present on Twitter and on certain YouTube channels about her thoughts on what's going on. You have VCs that are kind of frazzled, I guess you could say, on fudding the because they got taken advantage of in this hack and whatnot. How do you guys think on the other side of this? Is Folks Finance going to end up becoming a bigger player, and Zalgofy going to lose some of that dominance?
I mean, I think so regardless of the hack. I'll be honest. I think Folks Finance has created a very fantastic platform, and it's a different style of lending protocol that gives just users a different ability. Like instead of you can choose fixed rate APRs instead of, like when we had people like me taking advantage of that USDC dip and borrowing USDT, and all of a sudden the borrow rates went through the roof. You could set a fixed USDT interest rate as opposed to being at the whims of a variable rate. I think an innovation like that's really interesting. There are additional flash loans, so that way you can do the governance loop. I think that's a really interesting innovation as well. So I think that's going to happen anyway, but honestly, I don't know how soon, because at least they're going to be a good competitor. But if you look at the numbers, AlgoFi still has such a substantial lead over Folks Finance that I don't think I don't think what transpired over the last couple of weeks is really going to affect AlgoFi that much at all. I mean, you've got AlgoFi with 114 million TVL, and you've got Folks Finance with 59. They've almost got double what Folks Finance has, and I just don't see that changing that much.
It's going to take new money coming in.
Yeah, and I would say shout out to folks. That new user interface is dope. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely say that's a good look. I still use AlgoFi for some reason, probably because that's where I started. So that's what I continue to use. So, but I think both of them would rise up more with new money for sure.
Yeah. And I think honestly, we may be seeing some of that, right? I think, not to say Borderless Capital has any heat on them. Obviously, I think Cooper may be trying to apply some heat there. But there's definitely some of the other Valhalla Capital,
Can you pull that comment up though? Where is it careful
came and went. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity for new money to kind of come into the ecosystem, and maybe we'll see some of the old money that's more disgruntled head out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Richard knows, but we've definitely on this show been a fair share of speaking our minds. Sometimes we agree with the foundation, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we agree with project builders, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have full out Twitter battles with people building ASA projects, and
sometimes people don't agree with us, and I get heat for it.
It is what it is. I mean, we try our best to uplift the community, or definitely have in the past, and we'll continue to do so. But we're not gonna, not speak our mind if we have something to say.
And listen, with speaking your mind, like, I did watch some Coop this morning, so shout out to him for doing what he do too. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, he's definitely going through. I feel for him because I get that him being a community champion. Like, if there's anybody I feel like in the community who actually is a quote unquote champion, Coop is one of them. But it does put it. I was kind of wondering when he got that role. Like, man, I didn't think they would let us be those community champions, because we have our own personas, I guess you could say, in our YouTube sphere and in our social media interactions that don't always align 100% with the foundation. And I think you immediately saw that when he kind of had a few tweets calling, saying a few things that maybe he shouldn't have said, right? But it's not me, but I don't think it was crossing any lines. But for them, it's like, they pulled the plug on him. And I don't know. I'm definitely
at this point, they might as well just hire more employees. Keep it real.
No.
If you hire employees, let me finish. If you hire employees, then they can't say anything, right?
Right.
So if you're going to get people out the community like Coop, he still is not. He not your. He don't got a W-2 with you.
Yeah.
So if you have a W-2, you can put a string around someone's throat and tell them what to say.
Yeah.
Right.
My whole thing would be, just because I've had interviews with for being a community champion. I think SeaWill, you were a community
I
champion.
was for over a year. Yeah.
But and from what I heard, and this was when I was trying to apply to the old community champion program, is that they were sunsetting it. They were getting rid of it because there was no actual data to prove that the money they were expending on it was actually worth anything.
They
And
got rid of it. Yeah, for
I
sure.
went and looked at a ton of the people who were chosen. One, I'll say this.
Of the new one?
Yeah, of the new people. I don't think half those people will have the same impact that Coop would, right? There is way better ways, in my opinion, to use the funds within the community and to build up within. And I feel like it's, I think Coop may have said this too, and this may get me in hot water as well, but it's kind of the same way with any business, but it's who you know, not what you know, right? These are people hiring their friends and people who know somebody getting the tip of the hat, when really there's well qualified people that probably should be getting it.
Well, if you think about it like this, if this is about money, right? Let's look back and see who they gave money to. And they ain't gave no money out to champions like they gave to some of these businesses who I don't want to name. I had a few pop in my mind. I'm not going to name them, but some businesses and people receive millions of dollars and they have zero to show for it, but maybe a website, maybe a roadmap, things like that. Or they completely literally like rugged and went to a different blockchain after they received $1 million. So they might as well give more people money that are like Coop and champions, myself, like y'all. They might as well, because one thing we have done is shown up for years. Like Coop's been around for years. I've been around for years. Y'all been around for years now. Like, so,
That's a fair point.
So I just see it like that. It's like, if it's about money and impact, right?
Right.
But I don't think it is then.
I agree. And we could continue this conversation probably
shout out to everybody that
sure.
that taps in. Shout out to everybody that we've worked with, because it's no salt there, but
absolutely. I mean, we love the community. We still do this for the community. We still turn it on at least once a week for the community. We'll continue to do so, and hit us up in the DMs or whatever, and like let us know if you want to see certain guests on the show or certain topics discussed on the show. We're very responsive to those DMs. Definitely let us know, and we'll catch you next week.
Yes. Yep. See you, everybody.
Have a great one.